Maybe you've heard that long-form content is the way to go in your teacher-seller business, but you're not really sure what to do for long-form content. Should I do a blog? Should I do a YouTube channel? Should I make a podcast? Which one is going to do the most bang for my buck in this stage of my business? That is what we are going to talk about in today's video. First off, hello there. If you don't know who I am, my name is Winnie Barton. I am the timely teacherpreneur, the founder behind this channel, and I help teacherpreneurs master their time and energy while scaling their business so that they can ditch the hustle and grind, break up with busy, and stop sacrificing their mental health and sanity. And if you're regular to this channel, you know this is not my home. This is not my backdrop. I am at my mother's house. I actually did not have time to film this video beforehand because it is what it is, but I said no excuses. So my son is taking a nap right now. I'm in their room using their office and making faulty lighting using a lamp and all the things. So we are just gonna roll with the punches because that's just how it is. But like I mentioned, in today's video, we are gonna be talking all about why long-form content really is so important in your teacher-seller business, and then how to determine whether you should start with a blog or you should start a podcast or you should start a YouTube. I have experience with all three. I currently have a blog and a YouTube channel right now, and I used to have a podcast, so I know like the pros and cons of each one and what you need to do for all of those. And so by the end of this, hopefully you will know what type of long form content you are going to start creating in your business regularly, or what you want to start doing, or have a better grip on what you're already doing and how to plan for it better. So let's not waste any more time. Let's just get started. Okay, let's first start by talking a little bit about what long form content actually is. It's basically exactly what it sounds like. It's a longer form of content. So unlike social media posts where you can only have up to 2,200 characters, I know the exact limit because I go over it all of the time, and it's a shorter post and it's fleeting and it only lives for like less than a day. Long form content is content that's typically a lot longer, that helps you relate to your audience a lot more, helps you build authority, helps you rank higher in search. We're going to talk about all the reasons why long form content is important. But when you think long form content, the three most typical ones are blogging, YouTube, and podcast, which is why we're going to go over pros and cons for all of those at the end of this, and why you really need to be focusing on your long form content. Now, I will say, if you are just starting out, one of the best ways to build a following with like your audience and things is to start with a long form piece of content. Especially if you are a teacher seller and you're wanting to be promoting your products and more, then I would definitely recommend starting with a blog, a podcast, or a YouTube. And there's a couple of reasons why long form content is a lot better than short form content. The first reason being is that it ranks higher in search. So content with over 2,000 words tends to rank a lot higher in search than shorter content, as it has a lot more substance to it and it generally will keep the audience's attention for longer. It's a lot easier to rank for your long form content on Google, like your blog posts. Podcast is kind of hard, their algorithm is sketchy, but like YouTube can also be searched on Google. And so if you have a long form piece of content, that can be searched. You can't search a social media post on Google, at least not yet. They don't have that capability. So by creating that long form content and learning how to use SEO, which is search engine optimization, to like rank for keywords in Google search, you have a way better chance of getting onto the first page of Google and then having new people find you every single day. And then that's how you get more traffic on your website. You get people to stay longer on your website. And then overall, that's going to really help down the line with converting people into buyers for your products and things. Another reason that long form content is super important is it allows you to promote way easier, because if all you're doing is promoting on your social media page with like, this is a new product and here's this and here's this, and for one, you don't really get to talk about it a lot, but two, you don't really get to like, I guess, ease them into the sale. You don't get to like share educational value with them before you just bang into like the product, because there's just not enough space to do so. So longer content allows you to promote your products and offers easier, as you can create content around specific offers or products and really explain why they should purchase it. It's a lot harder to share that importance in a social media post. So let's do an example. Like for me, I have a Trello for Teacherpreneurs business bundle. And so I have all these Trello boards to help teacherpreneurs get their systems together. I could share it on Instagram and it would probably do okay, but it would do a lot better if it had its own blog post. And so I actually have a couple of blog posts. Like for example, I have one on why workflows are important in your teacher biz. And then I explain all the reasons why workflows are important. I give pictures and examples of my Trello board workflows I've created. And at the end I say, by the way, if you want these, buy this product. And they can easily go, wow, you just gave me a lot of valuable information. I'm going to go buy said product. And I will get a lot more conversions that way than just going onto my stories and saying, workflows are important, buy this Trello thing so that you can get it. Because I didn't provide any value. I didn't try to like nurture them beforehand. I just said, buy my stuff. So another one that I do that's typically common that my friend also does, I've seen a lot of people do this, is, for example, since I'm a music teacher, I'll share a lesson that has worked really well in my classroom, and I'll share the whole lesson with them, but all the materials and stuff, if they want all that and they don't have to make it themselves, I'll say, by the way, I've pre-packaged this for you in this product, go buy it. And then most of the time they'll say, well, I really want to do that lesson. I don't want to waste time making all that for myself. So yeah, I'm going to go buy that myself. And so just having that longer form content, like YouTube videos specifically on a product and how to use a product of yours, or podcast episodes on how to incorporate like math centers into your classroom, or a blog post on like your top favorite like rhythm activities. It's just so much better to like keep your audience invested in what you are selling. Another reason why long form content is so important is it allows you to provide more value. So longer content allows you to share a lot more educational value with your audience, which allows them to trust in you more, which results in them purchasing your products more. So like I mentioned already with social media, it's super short. You can't share a lot of information on there. A lot of it has to be shared in like the graphics, which is why we're thankful for carousel posts and things. But if you're wanting to have that longer form content with your audience and provide a lot more value, then that's where blog posts, podcasts, and YouTube episodes come into play, because they can be longer videos, longer podcast episodes, longer blog posts, and people are going to stay on your site longer or your page, and they're going to be able to binge that content. And if they're binging that long form content of yours, they're going to really value you and go to you when they have questions. Like I have people that specifically come into my DMs and ask me productivity questions because they know that like I'm the productivity guru. That's all I like focus on. And so they can ask me their specific questions. I especially get a lot of moms that do that. They'll be like, you understand, you have a 2-year-old, you share about it all the time. Can you help me figure out, like I just had someone the other day say, can you help me figure out how to like make a better schedule for like figuring out a quarterly planning session with my 20-year-old who like doesn't nap? And I was able to really help her go through with that because I've experienced that. I'm kind of going through that right now. I'm actually really lucky my son's asleep. But having that long form content allows you to provide a lot more of that educational value. And we want them to like, trust, and know you before they buy your stuff. And then the last reason I'm going to go with, there's a lot of reasons why long form content is important, but the last one is it positions you as an authority. So what I mean by authority is, so it basically just shows that you are a person that knows what you're talking about in your niche, because not everybody in your niche actually knows what they're talking about and actually should be the people that like they go to for advice. And so if you're continually providing this more extensive value, your loyal fans are going to appreciate you and go, wow, I actually know their stuff. Like there's this person, I just bought their email marketing course, and I've taken like 1 or 2 other email marketing courses before from people that like, they really did build their authority really well, but they just obviously didn't know what they were talking about. Like email is not their wheelhouse. And then I bought this person's course and it was the best thing I possibly could have done. Like the first module alone was like worth its weight in gold. And so it's just when you know what you're talking about, which I knew I wanted her course because of her podcast episodes and things, because she shared so much value in that the podcast episodes that I knew I needed her course. So if you're sharing all of this information and things, then that is how people are going to leave like, wow, you really do know your stuff, and they're going to want your offers. Like for me, I have 41 people on my wait list for my course that's coming out. Hopefully, actually, you might be out by the time you watch this video. But I have 41 people on my list for my course. And then I have like over 50 people enter my giveaway for a free spot inside of the course. And those people wouldn't have felt like they trusted me enough to like want to do my course if they didn't believe that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to batching and systems and things. And how did they believe that? Through my YouTube videos and my blog posts, because I show up consistently. And so long form content can really do a lot for you if you utilize it in the correct ways. Okay, so now you're like, Rainey, yes, I get it. Long form content is important, but what the heck do I do first? Do I do a blog? Do I do a YouTube? Do I do a podcast? Do I do all of those things? Let me stop you and say no, do not do all of those things right now. Do not do it. I eventually plan on having a podcast as well. Again, I had a podcast for a different business. I had a mompreneur business. It really didn't go so well. Why? Because I should have just realized that like I should have just helped teacherpreneurs from the start. But you live, you learn from every journey that you take. But anyway, no, I would not do all 3 at the same time. I would start out with just 1. So let's talk about all 3 types, pros and cons for each, especially from the lens of a teacher seller. And then you can hopefully decide which one you are wanting to do by the end of this video. Okay, let's talk blog first. And I actually was watching when I was doing some research on the pros and cons of these things. I was watching this video and one person was like, yeah, basically like blogging is dead. Like it's not really good. You should focus on either podcast or YouTube. And I was like, you obviously don't have a niche that like uses blogging. Teachers use blogging like no other. Like my favorite thing is like typing in something that I'm looking for on Google and finding a music teacher's blog post about it. I'm like, yes, this is going to have so much value. So they don't know what they're talking about. For teacher sellers, blogs are a great way to build up rapport and to have more people buy into your store. They're really great if you don't want to show your face, because you don't have to. They're really great if you're a writer. So if you're passionate and you're good at writing, then it makes sense that you would do a blog. They're really good depending on your niche, like I said. So for teacher sellers, we excel because we can blog about lesson planning ideas. We can blog about all these different things that are going on in our teacher world, and teachers just eat it up. So blogging is really great among the teacher community. It also doesn't really take a lot to get started. You just need your website, your domain, which that can be a little pricey setting it up, but once you have it, it's just a consistent monthly fee. It's nothing too bad. And then just write your blog post. A knowledge of SEO or search engine optimization will also help you rank. The one nice thing about blogging is that you can start to rank almost right away. Now, it will take sometimes up to like 6 months to 2 years to rank for specific topics. So that could be a con, is that it takes a lot longer than like YouTube and things to rank for these things, but you can start ranking right away. And it's just a really great way to bring traffic to your platform in general. And another really great pro about blogging is that you can update and change posts at any point in time. In fact, Google actually, and SEO actually recommends that you're updating it to like consistently stay up to date with like the latest SEO practices and things. Whereas you can't edit a YouTube video once it's out in the world. You can edit a podcast one, but that one's also like just a little dicey and hard to do. So it's really easy for blogging that you can just go in and edit and update whenever you need to. I especially like blogging because that is the place that I do the most work on like promoting my products. So like, for example, I had like a 5 activities to do for St. Patrick's Day thing, and basically all of them were included within my St. Patrick's Day music bundle. And so I shared all of the activities. And then at the end, I was like, by the way, I have my St. Patrick's music bundle. Go buy it here. And I got a lot of sales from that. So I think blogs are really, really great for teacher sellers, especially if you only have a TPT business. Then I would probably introduce blogging into your marketing strategy, because it's going to be really helpful in promoting your products and sharing value and like getting other teachers that like have the same niche and topic as you invested in what you're doing, and it'll show you as a leader in your field. So now let's talk podcasting. So I had a podcast. It's the More Time Mama podcast. I'll link it down below in case you're like, ooh, she had a podcast. Yeah, it was for mompreneurs. I thought it was a great podcast. I kind of missed it a lot. Anyway, I believe that podcasts are a little bit easier to create content simply as you don't have to be on video. You can show up in your pajamas, which I did on multiple occasions. You can just roll out of bed and record. Now, I will say it was harder for me, because I was one of those people that had to write out every single word that they were going to say. Otherwise, I just felt like I was not very eloquent in my words. Whereas YouTube, I can just do an outline and generally I'm okay. It's weird why that I don't need a script for that. I don't really understand. But it is easier to be a lot more consistent with podcasting, because with YouTube, you have to set up your lighting. You have to get dressed. You have to put on makeup, unless you're me and you just don't wear makeup. Then you don't have to put on makeup. But like for right now, for example, I have like the mic stand on this weird thing. I have like this lamp in the background. It was hard to set it up to do it at my mom's, but I wanted to stay consistent with it, especially with a launch coming around the corner. Now, the other thing about podcasting is that podcasting is the only platform that allows you to consume content and be doing something else. A lot of people will listen to podcasts way longer. In fact, most people will consume about 90% of a podcast episode compared to like less than 5 minutes of a YouTube episode, simply because they can put it on while they're doing dishes. They can put it on while they're in the car talking to their kids. They can go for a run. Sure, you could do that with YouTube videos, but you have to have the YouTube app open, and sometimes it'll just close because if you're doing something and you need to put it in your pocket, then the app's going to close, or it's going to click onto something else on your phone. And so people don't want to deal with that. And so that's a really great reason why podcasting could also be a great avenue for you, especially in your teacher seller business, because teachers are busy. They're typically having to multitask and having to do other things. And so this could be a really great leeway for you to like gain, support in your teacher audience by having them be appreciative of you making something that like they can consume while they're on the go with their kids or in the car on a long commute to school or things like that. It's not really hard to set up. All you really need is a good mic to get started. I use this Yeti mic. It's about $120. It's been really great and helpful so far. The one con I will say though is that it is harder to promote a podcast, as one, podcasts are not really searchable yet. The algorithm for podcasts kind of sucks. Like, it's probably in its infancy stages if it's going to have an SEO algorithm type thing. And so it's really hard to promote a podcast. Like, you can run paid ads to it, but it's basically all you doing word of mouth. I will say that it's easier in the sense that if someone really enjoys a podcast, they will share it with their friends and family. I don't necessarily share YouTube people as much. Actually, yeah, I do, because I'm in the YouTube community. But if you're a podcast listener and you're not really a YouTube watcher, then you probably promote podcasts a lot more openly. And so podcasting, that's like the pros and the cons. I feel like it could be really great avenue for teacher sellers as well, especially if you're wanting to just build that rapport with your audience. You can also chat, not necessarily products per se, but you can put products into your show notes and things. You can talk, like, for example, an episode could be 5 activities to do as literacy centers, and then you share all of them. And at the end you say, by the way, I have XYZ, I'll put it in the show notes, and then you link directly to your product. So that's one way that you could utilize it inside your teacher seller business. And then last but not least is YouTube, which honestly is probably my favorite platform. I really enjoy it a lot. The one great thing about YouTube is that it has an amazing algorithm. The second you put out a video, it is already trying to put it in front of the eyes of people that they know would like your channel. So it's really easy to search in Google. Also, Google owns YouTube. And so when you type stuff in on Google, YouTube videos show up at the top. So you could have your YouTube videos come up at the top if you know what you're doing using SEO, which is why I recommend using TubeBuddy for that. Now, the one thing about YouTube is there is over 5 million channels compared to less than 1 million podcasts out there. So it could be a little bit harder to stand out, which is easier to stand out with a podcast. But I would not let that stop you, quite honestly, because everybody on YouTube is different. And so if you're not copying the same people, people are going to want to follow you because of your, your personality and what makes you you. I will say though, like I mentioned earlier, people will listen to podcast episodes pretty much all the way through. And if you get a person to stay on your YouTube video for longer than 5 minutes, you're actually really killing the game here. So that is one thing that I don't necessarily like about YouTube. Now, I've seen people do this where they take like their YouTube video and they turn it into a podcast and vice versa, and say like, oh, I can do both with that. You could, but for me, I've seen people do it 2 different ways on YouTube. I've seen it where they film their podcast, like they record themselves filming their podcast so you can see them, and they put that on YouTube and as a podcast episode, and that bores the crap out of me. I don't want to just stare at you talking into a mic when I could just listen to your podcast. And then I've seen people do it where they just put a graphic. I don't think that's the way to do it at all. That's going to kill your YouTube channel like more than anything. And then I would say the same thing the other way. So like, for example, if you have a podcast episode, a YouTube video, and you want to turn it into a podcast episode, that could work. But for example, if you're trying to share something in your YouTube and you're going, if you look here, or if you do this, or you share a graphic or things, and like they can't experience it because they're listening to it and they're not watching it, that's going to make them tune out as well. So repurposing, I would not really focus on that between YouTube to podcast and things. But YouTube is obviously great for if you shine on camera and you're really comfortable speaking in front of an audience and you like, engaging with people on that level. I will say that YouTube can be a little bit pricier for setup. You can get started with your iPhone. That is currently what I'm using, but you'll need your editing software. You might need a mic or like audio. All of those things. You need good lighting, which I had to pay for a ring light and stuff. So it is a little pricier to set up as well, and it takes a little bit longer, because you have to record and you have to edit, which you do for podcasting as well. But I don't know. I feel like YouTube editing is a lot harder because then you also have to create your thumbnail. You have to create any graphics that are going to go in. Whereas the podcast, you're just editing it. No graphics and stuff are going along with it. So YouTube is a little more extensive on the back end, especially for uploading. There's just a lot of stuff that you have to do, like write your video description and all of these things. But you can totally promote products just in YouTube videos. I have a friend that does it exceptionally well. I have a couple of music teacher friends that do it really well. They'll talk about a lesson and then they'll share the product right underneath the YouTube. And actually my YouTube channel brings me more sales than my blog currently because I'm actually more consistent with my YouTube channel. I get a lot more sales on there. I get the most sales from TPT still, but then right underneath that is YouTube because I'm sharing my products and people are clicking on them and then going and buying the product. Especially because, I don't know, there's something about seeing a person camera face to face that just makes them trust you a lot more. And so I vote for YouTube to use in your teacher seller business. Okay, so you've heard about blogging, podcasting, and YouTube. Overall, I think each one of them can work depending on where you want to take it in your business. If I was going to say what's my favorite for me, it goes YouTube and then blogging and then podcast, only because I used to have a podcast and it actually really stressed me out having the podcast. I don't know. I felt like that was harder to like get together than like editing like the podcast. I don't know. I'm just weird like that. But take whichever one is going to work for you. Play to your strengths. So if you're a writer, do a blog. If you're really great at chatting and talking, do a podcast. If you love shining on camera, do a YouTube channel. But I would definitely recommend only starting with one if you're in the newer stages of your business. Or even if you're not in the newer stages, but you just don't really do long form content consistently, then just choose one and then just keep building on it. And then once you've been consistent with that for about like a year, then I would add on something else. Don't feel like you need to have all of them right at the moment when you want to do it, even though they all sound exciting, because that's going to be overwhelming, and consistency is the key here. And if you're like, okay, I want to do a blog, I want to do a podcast, I want to do a YouTube, where do I start with that? How do I create content for that? How do I stay consistent with that? The batching breakdown is for you. You know you've heard about it for a couple of weeks now. It is finally here. It is opening Sunday night. Get excited. It opens on Friday to my waitlist. So if you want to get on the waitlist, the link's going to be in the bio. That is my course designed to turn teacher sellers into batching and systems extraordinaires. We are going to be talking all through how to create quarterly content using long-form content, so either your blog, your podcast, or your YouTube. I'm going to provide you with a crap ton of templates, and my favorite part about it is that I'm going to teach you how to honor your energy while doing it, because there is a specific time and place to do all different types of tasks and things in your business, and I'm going to help teach you the win behind productivity. So if you're excited and you want a special bonus deal, sign up for the waitlist with the link in my bio, or just catch my story Sunday night as I'm going to be announcing. I'm actually doing a giveaway right now on Instagram that closes on Friday. Let's see what day that is. Friday the 18th at 8 p.m. So if you're watching this before then, go to the Timely Teacherpreneur and enter to get a free spot in the giveaway. And with that, that's basically all I got for you. So if you liked this video, make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends and family so that more people can find this channel. This channel is actually starting to grow a lot. I'm getting super excited about where it's going. So I'm super excited. I'm almost to 100. I know that's not a lot, but it feels like a lot to me. Well, I've got to get editing and things. Little dude is asleep for probably not much longer, because you know how that goes. And so with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.